All right, so today we're going to take a look at propagating this beautiful plant, which is called the Coral Bell. And so it's a cranberry Coral Bells. Got it at my local big box store. And to be honest, I bought it because I love it and want to have it around the house. And at the same time, I thought, why not see if we can propagate it for the backyard nursery. It's just, this is a shade-loving plant, and it just has beautiful colors, and I love the leaf patterns. And so I want to see if we can propagate that in our backyard for our backyard nursery. So the first thing I did was I just took it out of the pot. You can tell my kids just watered it pretty recently. I just found a grub on the outside, so I squished that with my fingers. And you can see it's kind of a loamy soil that's here. But what I want to do is break apart the dirt a little bit so that I can see what's happening inside with the root ball. And the propagation method that I'm going to use is similar to what I practice with the hostas around the house. It's fascinating to see that with this much growth, how little the roots there really are. Like, this is all just soil in there that it would have grown into eventually. I did break a little bit of the roots there, but you got to break a few roots to make a nursery omelet. I guess that's what Mom always said. So, all right, so I started from the bottom just to get a sense for how deep this root system was, and confirmed that it's not super deep. And now I'm kind of starting the other way, and I'm digging around the top, because what I want to do is get a sense for where the plants are sort of naturally separating. Not even sort of naturally separating, where they are actually naturally separating. I'm pushing this soil aside. I do plan to reuse it. Oops, that leaf fell off. There is no root system, so unfortunately we'll set that aside and we'll go bam right into the compost bucket. So I'm going to attempt to be more gentle than that. I don't want to sacrifice any more leaves than I have to. All right, shaking out the dirt, and now you can kind of get a better sense for what's going on with this plant. You can see some spindly roots down here. And it's a little bit tricky to know exactly where I'm going to start. So, all right, so what I'm looking for within these stems are some nice, easy targets where I can make a cut and cut down and get a chunk of root growth, as well as the woodier rhizome-like structure that's there. And so I do think I found my first target. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, all right. So what I'm gonna do is just get my blade in here between some stalks, and I'm gonna attempt to cut down and free these up from the mother plant. It's just so hard, it's so dense. I don't want to damage it. I don't think I can damage it, but I want to make sure that I have enough to plant, as well as some of the propagules? I don't know. Whatever the word is for propagation babies is. All right, let's go this way. The sound of ripping that you heard was me being largely unsuccessful in mangling this plant. So I'm going to show you what happened. Look at all this leaf carnage. Failure. All right, so we cut here. You can see a nice what looks like a good clean cut from the mother plant. But what's interesting is that that cut was here, and it does have, you know, a decent amount of stem, so I'm hopeful that maybe that will root, but that's certainly not as much. I was hoping to get some of this root ball with it. That one's kind of a stemmy leaf. This one is compost. Compost. So at this point, we are salvaging this as an experiment. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping any of these leaves that do have some of that base material, and I'm chucking to the compost any of these leaves that were cut further up the stem. So we'll see if I can salvage any of those. The rest of these go bam into the compost. It's a less emphatic bam. It's more of a womp womp bam into the compost. All right, so I think part of what was happening there is I was trying to clip it around the edges, and that didn't work so well. So I think, because I didn't get any of this other material, so I think what I'm going to do then is maybe go for a more risky cut, which sounds like a bad idea at this time, considering my success rate. Maybe I should cut my losses. But I think I'm just going to try to split this plant in half, because the roots are so compacted. There were no roots in that other section. So as we do this here, this separation, I don't want to cut the tops off of any of these leaves, but they're so intermixed that they're like knotted. They almost knotted themselves. They're like they're saying, please don't separate me. All right, so this is a little bit more like what I was expecting, right? There's a cut, you see that woody fibrous area, and you can see the roots all the way down where I cut, as well as some of the root down here. So that is certainly what I was expecting. And now we have two halves. So I do think at this stage, it's pretty top heavy, we're pretty likely to have two cuttings. And we multiplied this one plant into two. And so let's start from there and let's repot it back up. So